Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is part 2 of the little narrative campaign mission we are running of the Salamanders versus the Astra Militarum. Before we go over the mission, however, we are going to go ahead and go into the army. So let's get right into that. Alright, so here we are of my 590 points of Astra Militarum. Their regimental trait is Born Again Soldiers, so 6 is auto wound. They are being led today by a Cadian Castellan. He has the Warlord trait, superior tactical training, or basically he can issue 1 extra command that isn't his, and he is choosing the Perfectus orders, and his relic is the Laurels of Command, where once per battle he can issue an order that is on the enemy's command turn, or enemy's phase. He's being followed by a Primaris Psyker who has Night Shroud, where basically if casted, regardless of the weapon, 1, 2s, and 3s always fail on 1 Astra Militarum unit, and Terrifying Visions, where basically I roll 2d6, and for every 5+, it deals mortal wounds with a maximum of 6. The commander just has a power sword and plasma pistol, while the Psyker just has the standard las pistol. They are being accompanied by 3 squads of infantry, all standard. Sergeant has a a las pistol and chainsword. Standard guardsmen, 1 with a voxcaster, and their special weapons are the plasma gun, each identical to their own. They are then followed by a squadron of Scout Sentinels. I know they have the armored, but these ones had the plasma, so I needed them. So these are just Scout Sentinels with plasma cannons, and then they are also being accompanied by a Lehman Russ with a plasma executioner, 2 plasma sponsons, and a las cannon in the hull. And for a special effect, they're being covered by these little blips that are going to represent basically basilisks firing upon the enemy. This is a special little toy in the back of the Astra Militarum. This is for narrative reasons. The way it's going to work is I'm going to put a blip on there. I use 1 scattered dice and a dice. I roll it to see which direction it goes. I figured this would be a fun little narrative thing, but I explain it more once we go over the mission. But overall, that is my Astra Militarum army. Now let's go ahead and go over to the Salamanders. And here we are with the Salamander army.
I have my captain and Terminator armor. He has the Forge Master trait +2 to toughness. I also gave him the exemplar of the Promethean Creed to give him another Warlord trait, which is Miraculous Constitution. So on a D6, a wound is not lost, and every turn he regains a wound. And then I also gave him the Salamander's Mantle, which is -1 to wound. And then I have the Tactical Squad. It's 5 Marines. The Sergeant has a Commie Flamer, and then special weapons with a Flamer. And then next I have my Centurion Devastator Squad. They have las cannons and hurricane bolters. Then I have my Eliminator Squad. They're all equipped with this the bolt rifle and then the different rounds. And then lastly, I have the Vindicator with the Demolisher Cannon and Storm Bolter.
And that chucks it up to how many points?
595.
Alrighty then, so those are the armies. Let's go ahead and go over to the mission. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over the mission pack. As I stated previously, this is the second part of the narrative campaign that we're following. If those of you have watched last time, if you remember, the Salamanders won in the first battle. They were able to catch the vehicle that was trying to escape the Salamanders blockade, and they were able to bring it back to a much more secure location. However, they're having difficulties opening up the door, as if someone is either holding it or the machine spirit is not cooperating. Thus, the Salamanders have sent over their Tech Marine to come and try and unblock the door. So the way this mission is going to go, there are 2 deployments, both long ways. One side is going to be Astra Militarum, and one, as you can see, is plainly the Salamanders. The goal for the Salamanders is to hold off for all 5 rounds against the wave of the Astra Militarum. The way these buildings are going to work is they're going to be a -1 to hit and a +1 to their armor save. And while the Astra Militarum is going to slowly relentlessly move forward, like I said with the beacons as earlier, each beacon I'm going to place during my turn wherever I so choose, and I will then take 1 dice and 1 scatter dice, and I will throw it, and I will move the beacon where it is. So, for example, it stayed put, so I would just leave the beacon right there. But if it moved, say, that way, I would move it 5 inches in this direction. And if any salamander is caught within a 3-inch radius of this beacon, they will suffer D3 mortal wounds. For the Astra Militarum to win, basically they must wipe out any and all salamanders off the face of the map. However, I am not allowed to target the command vehicle nor the tech marine. I can only attack with the units that I have, as well as the salamanders only attack with the units that they have. So let's go ahead and now go on to deployment. All right, so here we are after deployment. For the Astra Militarum side, we've got the 2 Scout Sentinels right here at the edge on this side. Then we've got the big blob of Guardsmen right here with the Castellan in the middle. On his left flank is the Psyker. And then over here on the left flank is the Plasma Executioner. For the Salamanders, and this building we have the Vindicator, and then in the center we've got the Captain with his 5 Tactical Marines, the Centurions, and then up in this building right here we have the Eliminators. We went ahead and did the roll-off, so it's going to be Astra Militarum that's going to go first. So let's go ahead and go to their turn 1. All right, so turn 1 for the Astra Militarum. First off, the Cadian Castellan went ahead and gave the take cover command for all of the guardsmen around here, and they just pretty much bounced it off each other. The Psyker casted Night Shroud on the tank over here, so hit rolls of 1, 2, and 3s always fail. So yeah, as far as shooting goes, nothing really, though there were a couple of hits, the salamanders that are in the building were able to make off most of the saves. However, the Plasma Executioner was able to deal 2 wounds to one of the Centurions. So now we're going to go ahead and go to the Salamanders, turn 1. One thing before I forgot to mention, I went ahead and put the blips over here for the Basilisks, and this is where they landed. So the Salamanders have to keep in mind to just stay away or stay 3 inches away from the blips. Otherwise, in my turn, they will suffer D3 mortal wounds. So now let's go ahead and go to the Salamanders. Alrighty then, so it was turn 1 for the Salamanders, and it was a pretty successful turn. The Eliminators fired off their shots into the Cadian Castellan, dealing 1 mortal wound, and then the commander failing his save, bringing him down to 2 wounds left. The Centurions fired off their storm bolters, or hurricane bolters, into the guardsmen here, killing off 4 of them, and then firing their last cannons into the Executioner. However, the Executioner was able to stave off most of the hits and was able to make a couple of saves. It did fail 1, but it only did 2 damage with it. The Demolisher Cannon from the Vindicator pretty much blew these guardsmen away, killing off 5 of them, and then the Storm Bolter killing off an extra guardsman. So overall, pretty brutal for the first turn of Salamanders. Now we go to Guard, turn 2. All right, turn 2 for the Astra Militarum. They were able to do some punching of their own this round. First up, though, the commander once again gave the take cover on all his guardsmen, so they have a +1 to their save. The Psyker casted Night Shroud again on the tank, making 1, 2s, and 3s fail to hit. Sentinels moved up and overcharged their weapons into the Eliminators, obliterating them. Guardsmen over here fired some pot shots. Didn't do anything to the Centurions. And ad nauseum into here. However, that squad fired their shots into the Tactical Marines and did nothing. However, the tank fired his last cannon into the Vindicator and missed, but he put his sponsons and his main battle cannon into the Centurions, killing off one of them. So, pretty successful turn for the Guardsmen. Now we go ahead and go to the Salamanders, turn 2. Real quick before we do the Salamanders, I forgot to mention the volleys from the Basilisk. The first wave, the Salamanders had moved out of the way, so they were dealt no mortal wounds. But then I rolled for this round. The first dot landed over here in the middle of Centurions. The second one landed over here right between the Centurions and Tactical Marines. And the third one was able to remain directly on top of the Vindicator. So now let's go ahead and go over to the Salamanders, turn 2. All right, so here we are with the Salamanders, turn 2. Salamanders Centurions pressed forward a little bit to get out of the blast zone of the Basilisk moving forward. However, they have now lost the +1 to cover and the -1 to hit, as well as the Vindicator as well to move out of the blast zone radius. The Vindicator tried putting all of its shots into the Plasma Executioner, and because of Night Shroud, it failed. The Centurions fired everything into the Executioner as well, and because of the Night Shroud and being the Knight of Piety, the 5-up and vulnerable save, I failed the first one, but I was able to do the reroll. However, the Hurricane Vultures just obliterated the squad right here, and because of my poor commanding skills, I actually accidentally left the commander wide open, allowing these Tactical Marines to then blast him into oblivion. And while the Terminator capped and sung their praise, he fired off a couple of shots and killed off a Guardsman in this squad. So another devastating turn for the Salamanders. Now let's see how the Astra Militarum will respond in their turn 3. All right, turn 3 for the Guardsmen. Since the commander was defeated in the last round, or last turn, no orders were given. However, the Psyker casted Night Shroud once again onto the tank, making my basically 1, 2s, and 3s failed. He tried to cast Psychic Maelstrom, but he failed once on the charge and then once on the reroll. The Sentinels put all their shots into the Centurions, but they made it. These Guardsmen, I moved forward, and then I spent a CP for Ingrance's Precision, so that 5s automatically wound. And funny enough, the plasma gun didn't even take them out. It was all the las guns. This guy fired his shot into the Marines, killing off one of them. And then these guys, the 2 las guns, fired off their shots into the Marines, dealing only 1 damage to 1 Marine. And then the plasma gun fired its shot, dealing 2 damage to it. Then the Executioner put all of his shots into the Vindicator. He did suffer 1 mortal wound because I did overcharge it, dealing, I believe, a total of 4 damage to the guy, bringing him down to a total of 4 wounds remaining. So now we're going to go to the Salamanders, turn 3. All right, turn 3 for the Salamanders was relatively quickly. Tactical Marines put all their shots into this squad right here, killing off 3 of them, and the captain fired off his shots as well, killing off another one. The Vindicator, oh man, that one pretty much has been whiffing all game. Fired all of its shots into the Executioner and not dealing no damage or dealing no hit or dealing 1 hit and only but no wounds. So now let's go ahead and go into the guard, turn 4. All right, another round for the Astra Militarum. Nothing too crazy happened. The Sentinels put everything into the Vindicator. They did miss 1, so 1 was dealt a mortal wound, bringing it down to 6, and they fired it. Thus, however, the Vindicator was able to make the saves. Guardsmen fired their shots into the Marines, failed. The third guy, or one of the last guy remaining from his squad, overcharged his plasma and killed himself. These guys fired their shots into the Marines and failed. The Wizard once again, or I say the Psyker, got Night Shroud off, but once again failed Psychic Maelstrom, almost making me wish I didn't take it. And then the Plasma Executioner fired all of its shots into the Vindicator. And funny enough, it got a couple more wounds, so it seems to have done more damage to itself than the enemy team. So now let's go ahead and go to the last stand for the Salamanders on their turn 4. I apologize for having to do this a second time, but I forgot to mention the beacons. They didn't, their wave again, they didn't hit anything, and I re-rolled them again, and they were just out of shy range for the for these guys right here. So they're probably gonna, move out of the way, and yeah, there's gonna be no point setting these guys up again. So I might as well just go ahead and pick these up. But there will be no mortal wounds dealt to this Salamander. So now let's go ahead and go to their turn 4. All right, turn 4 for the Salamanders. Nothing too crazy happened here. They enacted Flamecraft and the Fires of Battle, using their mortal wounds, and maxed out Flamer to pretty much wipe away one of the Sentinels using their mortal wounds. And I just wasn't able to make the saves for it. It did not blow up. Then they just fired the remaining bolters into this squad, bringing down it to just the Plasma Gunner. And that's really about it. So now we're going to go to the top of the end of the battle, turn 5 for the Guardsmen. So close, yet so far. The Astra Militarum put everything into the Tactical Marine and Terminator Captain. The MVP finally was able to get off Psychic Maelstrom and was able to deal 4 mortal wounds on that. But not only did he get 4 mortal wounds on top of Psychic Maelstrom, he achieved a Super Smite and was able to get a full 6 mortal wounds, thus killing off the remaining Tactical Marines. However, since he did perils, he was down to 1 wound left. The Sentinel fired all of his shots into the Captain and failed to wound, however, did deal a mortal wound to himself. The Plasma Gun from this group of Guardsmen were able to deal 2 wounds to the Captain. The one lone Guardsman here also fired, but he missed and blew himself up. And the Executioner fired everything into the Captain, leaving him down to 1 wound left. However, he did miss a couple of times, and he brought himself down to 5 wounds remaining. So now it's just the cleanup time for the Salamanders on their turn 5. Turn 5 for the Salamanders. The Terminator Captain has seen all of his fellow brothers fall, and he could stand it no more. He fired his bolt guns, killing off 3 out of the 4 remaining Guardsmen. However, the Sergeant was able to pass morale and hold true. But because of what the Psyker did to his fellow Tactical Marines, he charged forward and smited the foe with his big sword. And thus concludes the battle report. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is part 2. It is a win for the Salamanders. They have successfully unlocked the door. And as they unlocked it, a jolt pops out of the command the command vehicle, sending it far across the planet, and is now once again up to the Captain to find out what was truly inside the vehicle. I know I was going to say it was going to be a 2-part series, however, I've ran into some difficulties with said surprise for the channel, but I will trying to make it up to you guys and have it ready by the next battle report. So please do hang tight. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a bit more of a different narrative style report with different variables like the buildings being -1 to hit and the +1 to their save. Also with the baselets coming in with all that. So, but before we go on and on about it, let's go ahead and go to the after action report. And here we are with the after action report. So, what were your thoughts of doing the more creative style with the narrative report?
I liked it. It added more depth to the game, make it seem like it was actually something important going on.
Yeah. Who would you say was the MVP out of the game?
Of course, the captain. He just likes. I like a guy who can tank shots. He just ate all of them.
Yeah, I would say though that the most poo-poo unit was definitely your Vindicator.
Yeah.
He did not. The only thing he did was kill 5 guardsmen the entire game, and everything else he missed all of his big blasts onto the tank, and pretty much failed any other shot after that. Now I will say that the Night Shroud did come in clutch against the tank, but yeah, your Vindicator. You've only used it twice, and this was your second time, and that one didn't really.
Wasn't good the first time. Wasn't good the second time.
Yeah, I can see why it's so cheap to use one. But yeah, like I said earlier, guys, this was going to be a 2-part series, but unfortunately, some technical difficulties to make it as simple as possible has delayed the surprise for the channel for you guys. So I do apologize. I'm going to try and get it done as soon as I can. Hopefully, it'll be ready by the time the next battle report, if not the one after. But if it isn't ready by the third mission, then it's just going to be just a reveal on its own separate account. But that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed a little bit more of the narrative battle report. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help the channel. Thank you guys for getting me to 400 subs. It's another milestone for the channel, so I really appreciate it. And that is it, guys. I will see you next time.